morning. My name is Irina. I'm Vice President of SSDP right now. And I guess, can we take like 10 to 15 minutes for a Q&A?
I understand the woman that examined your dogs found out that they were shot from behind as they were running away. And as a result of that, that sounds illegal no matter who you're hitting, human or animal. Have you started a suit against them based on that?
What I can tell you, regarding the necropsy, which is an autopsy for dogs, there were a number of statements that came out in early September from the Sheriff's Department. He wouldn't release a report, but he said publicly to the Washington Post that the officers were engaged with the dogs. He specifically said that my older dog Peyton met them at the door, and he gave a much more convoluted explanation for Chase, who's the younger dog, and how they shot him. But I'll just leave it at it's physically. Well, in both cases, they contradict physical evidence. Peyton was shot four times, twice each by two separate officers. He was found 13 feet from the front door, which is basically on the other side of my living room. So he clearly didn't charge the door. He was more by the kitchen, pretty much where he was standing. And we think we've recreated how that happened. In fact, one of the bullets, probably the first bullet that struck him went through his jaw. Probably missed my mother-in-law by a couple feet because it actually went across the kitchen where she was standing. We found it in the radiator. Chase, the younger dog, timid dog, he did run away. And we pretty much knew this based on the location and had a suspicion that he was shot from behind. The necropsy did confirm that he was shot in the rear leg and a second time in the side. I think he got hit. They probably spinning around. He got hit a second time after spinning around.
When they pass this bill, because I will have my letter prepared for December 31st of 2009, and I hope mine is the first appointment I get.
Because you January 15th.
Okay.
Give it 15 days. That's good.
Yeah. The Maryland Dog Federation gets a lot of calls, probably not as many as you have, but we've gotten a number of calls over the year of people whose dogs have been shot by the police for various reasons, whether it was a result of a warrant being served or just dogs pretty much being hunted down in the streets, and it is certain breeds. But
anyone proposed trying to bring more SWAT teams to the same way that Medicare was used to be 78 hospitals, as in it's not specifically illegal, but it might be a necessary component for receiving the outside funding?
Well, I think what you're seeing, I think, there's the opposite forces. I mean, you really have federal forces that are, federal actions that are encouraging this behavior. Radley mentioned the South Carolina town with the tank.
Richland Hills.
The city of Greenbelt has a tank, which actually I think they brought it out once for a Duke camp. It's been like in parades. I don't know if they've really used it for anything, but it's you don't have to go to South Carolina to find a tank. Or it's some sort of armored vehicle. I mean, you live without being a tank.
And the other thing, is the politics of your question. I mean, the problem is the right has traditionally been very sort of law and order, and the left is really kind of beholden to the police unions on these issues. I mean, the police unions regularly endorse Democrats, and the Bush administration, surprisingly, was actually phasing out some of these grants, these burn grants and the cops grants also. And it's been the Obama administration that's brought them back, and the Democrats in Congress, mostly because of the police unions, but also I think just Democrats sort of in general like the idea of bringing federal money home to the community.
Is it also the paranoid being called soft on crime?
That might have something to do with it, but I mean, even groups like, the ACLU, for example, they're probably not going to be happy with me saying this, but who's generally an ally on a lot of the civil liberties issues I work on, they won't go anywhere near cops and burn grants, or one of my other proposals is to strip police of qualified immunity, which is this hurdle that makes it very difficult to sue a police officer if they violate your rights. And the ACLU will not touch those issues because for political reasons and strategic alliances and whatnot, they don't want to sort of offend some of the Democrats in Congress who are their biggest supporters, who also happen to have close ties to police unions. So there, on both sides, I think there's an incredible amount of opposition to toning this stuff down at the federal level, which is unfortunate. But I really think the sort of state by state is really the best hope right now.
The oversight portion of this is you know, there's not an emphasis on it. You know, it's sort of like we have humans to deal with, we'll deal with dogs later. I mean, Prince George's County, which their animal shelter policies, and the euthanasia rates for dogs in Prince George's County, 75%, and the county shelter, it's like over 50% for puppies. You don't even give cats, it's even worse. But there's a lack of focus on it, and it's not important. And even within the law enforcement community, my chief is a member of some of the organizations I referenced. And what comes out of those organizations is, you know, more like, to Sheriff Jackson, more like he just really screwed up. Like you just, you know, not realizing there's a fundamental issue there. But if you're going to go into homes this frequently, I mean, half of homes in America have a domestic animal. Dogs are, I think, the principal one. It's going to be a problem that occurs. However, what I want to say though is, in my case, they shouldn't have been in the house in the first place. To me, I'm very passionate about the dog issue, but the Fourth Amendment piece of this is they should never have been there under those circumstances, because that's the broader issue, the security issues, the privacy issues, the lack of appreciation and seeing it slip away. I mean, the dogs are a victim of this process, but there's getting an understanding that there's when rights are violated. Even if there's no immediate economic consequences, mine it was $10,000 or something, which mind you could be crippling for other families, but it wasn't for us. But it's the emotional hit, the psychological hit, the permanent effect on your security, and that the Shaquille O'Neal quote, sort of, you just don't get that having men jump out of vehicles and knock on your door and point guns at you, much less do worse things, is a serious violation in this country. And I think that's the part